morning, everyone. Welcome to the second annual Northeastern Business and Financial Assistance Forum. We did this last year about this time, and we had about half of these people signed up, so I'm very pleased to see all of you here today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm John Mandeville. I'm the Executive Director for Lamoille Economic Development Corporation, who is the sponsoring agency for this event. And if you don't know what we do, we are one of the 12 regional development corporations in the state. And at its most basic, what RDCs do is support the creation and retention of jobs. Whatever that might mean, whether that's marketing, whether that's regulatory assistance, whether that's financial assistance, we try and provide all sorts of support services for the business community within this region. And this morning, we have quite a motley crew. Looks like there's going to be a couple of people missing, but typically these are the people who are most directly involved in providing a full range of business technical assistance services to the business community, financial services to the business community, and they're each going to talk for 5 to 10 minutes each to tell you what their agencies do, what they have available, a little bit about eligibility requirements to work with them. What I'd like to be able to do is get through that with no questions in between. We'll take a little break, and then we're going to open it up for questions from you to all of these nice people who are here. So let me introduce them. We first have Darcy Carter, who is with the Small Business Administration. We have Cindy Houston with the Vermont Community Loan Fund. Patricia Giovara from the Vermont Manufacturing Extension Center. Beth Mears from the Vermont Training Program. Cheryl Ducharme from USDA Rural Development. Jennifer Payne from Sterling College. Lauren, and I'm going to have to get your last name on. Pencil, up here, from Yankee Farm Credit. Joanne Spalding from the Vermont Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and I got a break in the Janice St. Long from the Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund, Flexible Capital Fund.
Just the flex one.
Flex. Fred didn't hear. Karen Cross, who is from Fresh Traps Capital, a venture capital firm here in Vermont. Bill Roberts from the Vermont Economic Development Authority. Charlie, who's there, who's going to be up here soon, who is with the Vermont Small Business Development Center. He's the area business advisor for this area, works out of my office. We have Leah Fury from Community Capital Vermont. And last but not least, Susan Murray from the U.S. Export. So, without further ado, start on this end.
I start on the other end. So I have a handout which you can fill out and you can recycle back to me. Okay. So I know we're trying to be brief. So basically, whoops, to stand on or just sit? Can everyone hear me? So I'm with the Small Business Administration, it's a small federal agency, and I'm talking about the local side of the house that we have a few other things that we do. We're kind of behind the scenes. We're mostly guarantor loans, so you would get your loan proposal together, hopefully working with Charlie back there at the Small Business Development Center. And you would go to your bank or you go to your credit union, and they will look at your request, and they will decide if they want what we call a credit enhancement. So that might be when they bring in SBA, or we have Vermont Economic Development Authority here as well, rural development. And that's just if it falls maybe outside of their normal lending policy. And what would that do? Maybe you want a longer term loan so your payments are lower. Maybe you don't have much collateral, so for their policy it's a little bit short on that. If you're in an industry that they think is a little riskier, maybe a restaurant, retail, just depends on the bank or the credit union. They'll have kind of their own, sweet spot, what they're looking for. Maybe the loan is a little larger than they're used to doing, and they would have some risk mitigation that way. So kind of behind the scenes, and we're there to help make that loan for you that they otherwise wouldn't make. And the reason it's helpful is because you're still going to get pretty much the lowest cost loan for your business if you go through a local credit union in most cases. Although Vita will be talking, and we've got some sweet deals too. But generally, that's the motivation to go to the bank or credit union. If you look at reasonable terms, you'll get a lower cost overall. A lot of the other programs. So that's pretty much our primary thing. We really go up to 5 million, but most deals in Vermont are in the 150, 250 range. There's no minimum, so there's plenty of $10,000, $20,000 loans. Nationally, programs widely used. It was like $19 billion in SBA loans last year. So, pretty much every bank and credit union is, larger credit unions use SBA. So if you go and you're looking for a loan request and they seem to be a little bit on the fence, you say, well, would you do it with an SBA guarantee? Would you consider doing it as an SBA loan? And they can always, the bank can call us. Feel free to call us directly. And everything, the more you want to know is in here. The last thing I would say is that we have a loan clinic that's free. We do twice a month. It's a webinar, so you just call in and just walks you through all the steps of for your business. So, and there's so many people.
Thank you. Cindy?
Hi. I'm going to stand just because I've been sitting so much. So just by a show of hands, how many businesses do we have here today? And how many of those businesses have sought loans before? Have you gotten business lending before? Okay, so you're somewhat familiar with the lending process. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know my audience very well today. The Vermont Community Loan Fund is an alternative lender, unlike a traditional bank. So whenever you need funding, your first primary source of funds should be a bank because you get better terms generally, and also they're a full service. You can do your checking, your savings, your payroll services. They're just deposits, so they can do a lot more for you than the Vermont Community Loan Fund in terms of the services they provide. The Vermont Community Loan Fund only provides loans. Our interest rate is 7%. Our terms are 5 years, and they're generally renewed for another 5 years if the loan is performing. We have about 80 loans in our portfolio right now, in our business loan portfolio. We also have about 40 child care loans. Our interest rates are about 7%, and what else can I tell you? The loans go up to $250,000. We have 3 programs. We have a child care program that I mentioned, a business program, and a low to moderate income housing, and facilities and program. The business program takes advantage of the SBA microloans. So we have microloans for small borrowers, like for equipment loans or working capital. It can be anywhere up to, I think, $75,000 for the small business loans. And we just started our first Community Advantage loan. That's an 85% guarantee. So if you're light on collateral, or if you have other issues with your business, that's something that you might be able to take advantage of. It doesn't change anything except that it makes it more less risk for us to lend money. We lend to everything from retailers to farmers to manufacturers, just a cross section of every conceivable business, only in Vermont. The wonderful thing about the Small Business Administration microloan programs is that we also have technical assistance available, which is very, very helpful to businesses. So we can help you with your QuickBooks, with marketing, and with business planning, really just helping you stay on track. And that's free. If you have a business microloan through the SBA, you get free technical assistance. We also have, with our child care program, we have a Project Success is what they call it. It's free technical assistance. The advantage to that is you don't need to be a borrower. So if there's a child care program and you want to get STARS rated or licensed or certified or get the food programs through the federal government, you can work with our, Cindy Daniels, our technical assistance advisor, and you don't have to get a loan. And she'll travel throughout the state. That's her full-time job, is just helping child care businesses, whether it's home-based or facility-based. 5 kids to 100 kids. So that's a wonderful service as well. What else can I say? We're an alternative lender, so unlike a traditional bank, we provide funding when perhaps you can't get funding elsewhere. We're also a subordinate lender, so if you have a traditional bank that's willing to lend money, but maybe there's a piece of it, like for equipment or for working capital, they'll help you buy the building, but maybe maybe it's a $500,000 building, but maybe you need some working capital, line of credit, or to buy some equipment. Maybe we can come in there as a subordinate lender or be a primary lender on the equipment, a lien holder on the equipment. So that's well, end it for now, and I'm available for questions.
Before we get going, Patricia, here, there's a couple of housekeeping things I forgot to mention. The restrooms are in the corner over there. There is, as you probably saw, there's donuts, muffins, coffee, hot water, tea there. If you want water, there's a drinking fountain, and there's water. Patricia.
Hi, so I'm Patricia Giovara with the Vermont Manufacturing Extension Center. So I'm curious how many manufacturers we have here. I know we have some food manufacturers. Okay, so not a lot, but so VMEC's primary mission is working with manufacturers. We also work with organizations from nonprofits, higher education. We work with financial institutions. And we've worked with energy companies, other service organizations. So again, our primary mission is manufacturing. However, the work that we do does apply to all industries and sectors. So we're a not-for-profit. We're actually hosted by Vermont Technical College. So our headquarters is in Randolph. We are, though, a fee-for-service organization. A lot of the time, initial interaction that an organization might have with VMAC usually happens one of two ways. One might be that you come to a public workshop that we might be offering, or another event where we're participating or hosting and meet someone from VMAC or participate in one of those public workshops to learn some of the fundamental skills. Another way is to give us a call and we'll meet with you or talk to you on the phone and do a free consultation to explain, learn more about your business and talk about the types of things that, types of services that we offer. So the services that we do provide are in, I'm going to say in 4 general categories. One is operational excellence and continuous improvement. The types of work in that area, you may have heard the term lean manufacturing, and which also can be applied to administrative processes. So, and we have a public workshop called Lean Office 101, which I definitely would recommend if you're interested in how to apply the Toyota principles and thinking and looking for ways to take any kind of waste out of your process, how to look at what you do more like a process. In offices, it can be like it's invisible. What is the process? So much is happening on the computer and everything. So a big piece of it is helping you to see how work and information flows through your business, and then how to make it flow more quickly, right? Because time is money, and a lot of this is looking at how to get from initial order to cash from your customer more quickly. Another area that we work with companies is in innovation and growth, right? So it's how to find more customers, how to develop more innovative products and value-added products or services. Again, a big piece of that is how to do it more quickly, just increasing that speed, having a systematic way that it just isn't happening by accident or waiting for someone to come to you, but how do you proactively take control of having a pipeline of new ideas and new sources of revenue that you are working on each year. A third place that I'll mention is in workforce development and and talent in your organization. Again, we do this through public workshops. We've also worked with companies to develop customized training programs on site. We're working with a manufacturer right now, getting started on a lean leadership development program, which is 13 weeks, a half a day per week, and it's really customized to their needs, but it's touching on some fundamental lean skills, standard work as we call it, standard work for leaders, and communication skills. And then a fourth area that I'll mention is being a resource for Vermont manufacturers. VMEC is a small organization here in Vermont. There are just 10 of us. We are part of a national network. So there is a VMEC in every state, and we're connected up through the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the Department of Commerce. So there are about 1,300 people like myself around the country. So we're tied into another network. We're tied into lots of partners through the state. So being a resource is another key aspect. And I brought some information that you can pick up afterwards.
Thank you, Patricia.
Hi, I'm Beth Demers. I'm with the Vermont Training Program, which sits in the Department of Economic Development. We're a grant for employers and training providers to assist with the training of employees. For the purposes of today, I'm going to focus on our business grants. If you're a training provider, you can probably catch up with me a little bit later. I don't see too many here. So essentially, the Vermont Training Program has been around for a long time, 30 years or so. In the recent years, there were some legislative changes that allowed the Vermont Training Program to work in more sectors of the economy and to assist more employees because the wage eligibility threshold was lowered, essentially. So we focus on working with companies who, and we start our conversation by asking them, what's new? What can we help your employees and you as a company learn so that you can get to that next new level? We also are looking to fund training that supplements, the funds will supplement rather than replace the existing training efforts of the company. So we focus on what's new and we focus on the training that really needs funding assistance. We can assist with full-time permanent employees who are receiving a minimum wage of $13 an hour and are being offered 3 benefits from a list of 9. Grants run for approximately 12 months. Applications are accepted on a rolling basis. But I think if you're interested in talking with me about a grant, that would probably be the best starting point, is to sit down and we can talk about what's new, what are your employee training needs, and then we can talk about how that might fit within an application.
Cheryl.
Great. I'm going to start by asking a question. How many people have ever heard of rural development before? Not as sad as I thought it was going to be. Awesome. I asked that because we changed our name quite a while ago, and still a lot of people think of Farmers Home Administration. It's who we used to be. And we've had a little difficulty, though it's been 20 years, getting people to come out of that Farmers Home Administration into rural development. So now I'm encouraged and feeling quite a bit better. Thank you for that. So rural development, actually, I'm just going to touch on a little bit of background and a little bit of what we do. We actually are like a 3-legged stool, if you will. We have housing division, which handles our housing programs for basically from single-family housing to multifamily housing, which is a large portion of our portfolios. And then we have our community facilities program, which is a wonderful program which helps with nonprofits, with municipalities, anywhere from water, sewer, to communities needing town halls, ambulances, fire trucks, all that really great infrastructure that you see everywhere you go. Libraries, all kinds of great stuff. So we have that leg of the stool. And then you have the leg of the stool, which I'm part of, which is business programs. And in our business programs, we have a lot of different variety of programs under there. And I'm just going to touch base with what those are. We have our legacy program, and I say that because it's part of our program that's been around forever, which are Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan Program, much like SBA. It's a guarantee. You don't apply directly to us, but you go to your basic commercial lender and you're looking to do whatever it is you want. You want to expand your business, you want to maybe do some working capital, whatever that may be. You talk with your commercial lender and we provide a guarantee. What's a guarantee? It's insurance by the government to maybe give that lender a level of comfort, maybe work with the lender to do some different terms, different rates, whatever the case may be, but it is the lender's loan. I can't stress that enough. The lender offers the rates, offers the terms, works directly with you, and then the lender literally is our applicant, and we are guaranteeing the lender's loan. So that's our Business and Industry Guaranteed Loan. Also under our umbrella or our leg of the stool is a variety of other programs. And I need to be clear here, we do not have any direct loan money. But what we do have is some wonderful programs where we work with partners. We have a variety of them sitting at the table here. VITA, VCLF, Community Capital, okay? We provide to them funding so that they can meet the needs of all of you guys. Agricultural producers, small businesses, absolutely great programs. Intermediary relending program. VITA, VCLF, Community Capital, all have them. We have 8 intermediaries in Vermont, and because we are a dual jurisdiction, what that means is we also serve New Hampshire. We have 10 intermediaries in New Hampshire. We provide an IRP, which is the Intermediary Lending Program, at a very low interest rate, a long term, so that the VITAs of the world and the VCLFs can then in turn provide gap funding, if you will, to a small business looking to expand or startup or whatever it is that they choose. This is their loan. They set the rates, they set the terms, they set who they're going to lend to, basically what their priorities are out to a small business. And it's a portion of that project in conjunction with a lender. They work with a lender. In my opinion, it's one of our best programs because now that business is setting up a relationship with a bank. It's absolutely great program. So if in fact that's something you're interested in, then you talk with the VITAs, you talk with VCLF, you talk with Community Capital or one of the other economic development people in the state of Vermont. Great program. In addition to that, we have a grant program that works much in the same way, where we grant the money out to the economic development people and they can turn around and provide technical assistance. We actually have a technical assistance recipient here with Sterling College. And I believe she's going to talk about her technical assistance grant. So the economic development people actually receive the technical assistance money and then in turn grant that money out to small businesses. They can receive technical assistance to do web design, to increase their marketing, all kinds of things. Fantastic program. Love that. Also, we have a value-added producer grant program for agricultural producers. Do we have any agricultural producers here? No. Okay, well, we do have that. That actually is direct money to the applicant. So we do have that if anyone's interested in that or knows an agricultural producer that may be interested in that. That is direct grant money from us. And we have an energy program, also direct grant money. It has a loan component to it, but again, it's a guaranteed loan. All of this is information that I brought with me. It's up there on the table. We have absolutely knowledgeable, experienced, and really friendly staff, specialists that are in business programs that have knowledge in each of these programs and are willing to help. We'll work with you on applications, talk to you about the programs. I encourage you to look at the materials. I'll answer any questions that you have and take their cards because they're all up there. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Sure.
Jennifer?
So have you ever thought about having an intern in your business, or have you ever taken one on and maybe it didn't go so well? Most college students are completed an internship during their studies in college. About 10 years ago, that percentage was around 40%. Now it's around 75 to 80%. It's a huge increase right now, so the demand for internships is out there and growing. My name is Jennifer Payne. I'm the Dean at Work at Sterling College. And people say, Dean of Work? I've never heard of that dean. I share that title with 6 other deans in the United States, and we make up the 7 federally recognized work colleges in the United States. And so what that means as a work college is that every one of our students works on campus, and it's a 2-8 tuition reduction in which they get reimbursed and compensated for their hours they work for their tuition at the college. So a part of our So being a work college, you have an academic curriculum and you also have a work curriculum. And part of our work curriculum is an internship program. All of our students are required to do at least one internship while they're in college. Our internship program has been in existence for 34 years. It's a great model that people look to and look after. And because of that expertise and because of the fact that I've been at Sterling directing the program for the last 11 years, we recently have received a grant through the Rural Business and Enterprise Grant from USDA to offer technical assistance to small businesses that are interested in starting up internship programs or developing an existing one. So that's why I'm here today. I can talk a lot about Sterling College and our great students who could come do internships for you, but I'm here today to offer you as technical assistance through this grant for you to set up your own internships through your organizations. Interns for a business are a great way for you to get some projects done that maybe you haven't had time to do. They're a great way for you to test your business if your business is thinking about growing, and you can see, oh, well, do we have enough work for another person to bring another person on? And then you could test it and see, oh yeah, we do have enough work, and then if the relationship is a good match, then you can hire them as a full-time employee. That's what a lot of organizations do, and they have that strategy. But the internship is also a start and end date, so if things aren't going well, there's very clear that there's an end date, and you can both part your own ways and say thanks for the experience. Interns bring a new eye into the organization, so it's kind of a fresh set of eyes that can be an advantage to saying, hey, have you ever thought about doing this or doing that? So that can be another benefit of them. You don't want to depend on an intern coming in to be the expert, but they also can bring in some new best practices from something maybe they've experienced someplace else or something that they've learned recently in their courses so that they can also offer that to an organization. The interns can help with, if you've got an ebb and flow as far as seasonality in your organization, so you've got more work at one time than another, they can come in and help at that time. And most importantly, this is the heart for me, is internships is an opportunity for you who are passionate about what you're doing is to pass that passion on to the future workers of tomorrow. And I think that that's a really important thing. When I get phone calls from people saying, hey, I need an intern, I need some help, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you're looking for free labor. And that's not what internships are about. If you're going to take on an internship, you need to do it for the right reasons. And you need to do it because you're really interested in training part of the workforce for tomorrow. People are talking about all the time that students don't have enough experience, and this is how they're going to get experience. And so we all need to contribute to training the workforce for tomorrow. It does take time, it does take money, but it's an investment in your organization. And if you do it right, it can be a valuable benefit to the organization, and everybody can benefit from it. Taking on an internship is, you're an opportunity to learn, but you can also learn from them as well. I talk about the seesaw of service and learning, and when you're on a seesaw, it's fun to kind of try and get it balanced on both ends, but both sides have to work and communicate on that. So as a student goes into an internship, the seesaw is uneven. And it's because the employer, the supervisor, is going to be providing a lot more training and time and energy in the beginning, but that training is going to pay off because as you progress through the internship, then you're both finding a balance of service and learning. And then as you progress, the seesaw is going to shift the other way, and the intern's going to be able to provide more service to the organization because you invested in all that learning in the beginning. So it's kind of an interesting metaphor to think about. So I'm here to help you set up how can you set up that curriculum to make that seesaw happen and to make it ebb and flow throughout the internship experience. Also, as far as college students, I shared that first statistic about being on the rise, about pretty much any college student is graduating having done an internship. Here in the state of Vermont, just recently signed into law was Act 77, which is about the flexible pathways education piece. And this is saying that all the high school students are going to be making individualized learning plans. And a lot of those plans are high schools are looking to create internship programs for their students. So there's going to be even more of a demand for internships in the state. And this is, again, us training our workforce for tomorrow. So I invite you to come join and be part of that. And if I can be of any assistance, I would love to do that. Our grant is specifically for food producers and processors, but we've been reaching out to organizations all year and trying to get people interested in starting this up, and haven't had very many takers. So at this point, we're interested in just helping anybody. So I'm here today, and I'm willing to help anybody, but especially if you know food producers and processors, that's specifically who this grant is for. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren?
Okay, I'm Lauren. I'm with Yankee Farm Credit. Yankee is an agricultural lender. Most people think of us as just a farm lender, but we can do vertical integration. We have several loans that they have their dairy herd, but they are now producing their own cheese. We can do the cheese manufacturing and right back up to the marketing. Have several different programs to help assist you in that. We have a consulting arm that will consult with your business. All of this is for fee. We are a commercial lender. We are the bank. Work with several of these people with the guarantee programs if the risk is a little higher. We do financially related services, meaning we can help you with your books if you need that. We also can have an appraisal arm that can help you with appraisals in order to find out what value your company has. All under the subset, though, of an agricultural business. One of the other things that we do have is if you know anyone that is starting farming or wants to start farming, we do have what's called a Farm Start program, where we are willing to take a lot of risk on those. That program is capped at $50,000, but it is meant to be the last $50,000 into someone that has a good business plan and a lot of ability, but not a lot of capital, not a lot of experience, and not a lot of everything else. They just, graduated from college, got a lot of enthusiasm, got a good business plan, and want to make it work. The Farm Start program may be a program that can get somebody into the business, and it's a program that Yankee participates in with another Farm Credit East. But as I said, it's the last $50,000 in, and we expect probably to take some losses within that program, but it's meant to take a good idea that somebody has and try to get it fruition. But I guess that's what I would say. We are the bank. I should mention too, Yankee is a little different than your normal banks. We are a cooperative lender. So if you borrow from Yankee, you are a member, and indirectly I work for you. We're governed by a board of directors that is members of our company. So it helps some cases because we are you.
Thank you. Joanne?
Good morning, everybody. Joanne Spalding. I'm with the Vermont Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and if you can't remember all of that, PTAC is completely fine. Actually, I prefer PTAC. Our organization, or our program, is similar to VMAC in the concept that we're part of a nationwide organization, and our mission is primarily to help small businesses successfully obtain and bid on government contracting. That is our primary focus. Now, when we say government contracting, that could really result in state government, local government, municipal, federal government is really our primary focus as far as our program goes. And we're also housed in economic development. The program that I work for is a state and federally funded program. We work through a cooperative agreement with the Defense Logistics Agency, and we receive a 50-50 match with the state of Vermont, so I'm housed with Beth. And also, Fred, who's not here. Our program guides businesses through all of the ins and outs of government contracting. It's registrations, certifications, marketing, following you through the RFP process, and also through the award phase in some instances. Our program is completely free of charge, and we have locations. Even though we're a statewide program, we have counselors located throughout the entire state. So somebody in Burlington, somebody in Newport. I cover the central Vermont area. I'm part of Chittenden County. We also have somebody in Springfield and in Rutland. Let's see, what else can I tell you? We partner with a lot of other resources here at the table. Susan Murray with the Commerce Department, and also some of the other partners, SBA and VMAC. Since our program primarily focuses on government contracting, there are a couple of things that we look at when we're working with a business. Essentially, 1 to 2 years in business, established, somebody that already may have a business plan in place. And that simply is just for the fact that doing business with the government, they want to make sure that you're going to be a responsible and responsive candidate when you get into a contractual relationship with them. So it's really just kind of saving you on the front end. If you're not at that point, but you do have a product or a service perhaps that is unique or is already currently being purchased, that regulation of the 1 to 2 years can be worked with. It doesn't necessarily make or break any decision that we do with working with you. We also counsel one-on-one and provide a bid matching service. So the one-on-one counseling can be done at your place of business or in one of our offices. And based on how that meeting goes, we can construct a profile for you that searches thousands of internet databases on government marketing opportunities, and that covers state and local notices across the board, international opportunities, and federal government opportunities. That is also a service that we provide to you free of charge. We help you review the bid notifications as they come in. If there are registrations and certifications that accompany those particular procurement opportunities, we help you through all of those processes. Recently, our program has worked with the Vermont State Agency of Transportation and BGS, held some workshops for learning how to do business with some of the state agencies. Thanks. I'm just kidding. We've noticed throughout the time that a lot of businesses may not want to jump directly into the federal government sector, which is why those relationships that we hold with the state offices are so important, because a lot of people have the capabilities of starting on a local state level. And it's nice to kind of pool them together, the resources together, kind of like what John is doing today, to make sure that we're providing the services that we can for our business community. And actually, last year, I participated in the panel, and I ended up working with a gentleman at Power Play Sports, and he received a Coast Guard lacrosse contract just from meeting with our program last year at this exact forum. So
Worth
there's a little
$42,000.
Yes, that's correct. So free service. Actually, just to kind of touch on that, we reported, and this is just contract dollars that were reported within our program last year, $103 million in government contracts to Vermont small businesses, and that's just Vermont. So I have material on the back of the table over there, business cards, and we also, I'm going to put a plug in really quick, we also have a event coming up in Manchester. It's a matchmaking event, talking about partnering with our resources. Some of the players here at the table are going to be joining us. It's a matchmaker event that we're working on in partnership with the Department of Defense Northeast Regional Council, our state partners, Senator Leahy's office, and that's going to be a 2-day event for small businesses. And it gives you the opportunity to meet face-to-face with some of the procurement folks and decision makers, prime contractors like Raytheon, BAE, things along those lines. And there's going to be training opportunities, some networking opportunities, and some face time with those procurement officials. So if you're interested, the information's on that table, and I'll take any questions as they come.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. I'm wondering if I can get your help, because I realized I have the Capital Continuum, which is a handout in the back table. It might be helpful in my conversation. So my name is Janice St. Ange. I'm the president of the Flexible Capital Fund. And we are a small investment fund that provides growth capital to companies who are in Vermont's value-added agriculture and food manufacturing, forestry, and clean technology sectors. So we are sector-specific, but we're the only lender in the state of Vermont providing royalty or revenue share financing. For folks who aren't familiar with that type of investment structure, essentially it's a loan that we provide to small businesses that is repaid based on a percentage of revenue over time, as opposed to being locked into a fixed monthly principal and interest payment. We're what I would call a flexible risk capital provider, and we often work in conjunction with many of the folks at this table. We're often the folks that come in at the last component of the financing package, because we don't rely on collateral in making an investment decision. We're really looking more along the lines of what an equity investor or venture capital investor might look at in terms of the quality of the management team, the prospect of the market that they're growing into, and and the growth potential. So we are, as I would say, an alternative to equity from the standpoint of we function more like equity, but we don't take an ownership position in the business. And we don't we don't have any decision-making control in terms of being on the board of directors, et cetera. I think one of the other things I wanted to just talk a little bit about is the fact that we, while we are mission and market sector specific, we often get inquiries about this type of financing and can hook companies who aren't maybe in our bailiwick in terms of mission or market into other options that might be out there. We do have what I would call a hefty technical assistance component to what we do. We're a high-touch lender. We're going to be with you all the way through in the term of the loan that we're invested in. We do have some grant funds that can help our portfolio companies in terms of business advisory services or marketing dollars. And we often will have observer rights in any board meetings or advisory board meetings for the purpose of really being with you all the way and understanding your business and bringing in access to our networks. We've done 9 investments in 6 companies to date. So we're small, but we are typically, the average size of our deal is between 100 and 300,000, and we can go higher than that, and oftentimes bring in other participants into our deals. I'm just trying to think of what else might be of interest to this crowd. If for folks who have the capital continuum in front of them, and I wasn't sure if I brought enough, basically we're kind of smack in the middle there. We're not low-cost debt. I'm pretty clear about that. But we are flexible, and we are value add in terms of how we round out a financing package with other lenders and investors in the mix. And as you can see, really the purpose of this visual is to help folks understand that there's this continuum of capital that's out there. Obviously, you've seen a lot of folks here at the table talking about debt, and you're going to hear from Karin about the equity side of investment here in Vermont. And really, I would encourage folks, as you're thinking about taking on outside capital, if you've never borrowed from a bank or a lender before, or if you're looking at equity investment, we really want to make sure that when we invest, it's the right match of capital for the size of the company, for the scale they want to grow into, and the stage that they're at. Oftentimes, a startup company is going to have different capital needs than a growth stage company, than a mature company. And making sure that you have that right match of capital, and that that capital is in alignment with your values and how you want to grow the business is really important. So when we talk about looking at putting together a financing package, I think oftentimes folks think, well, all I need is one funder, whether it's the bank or the loan fund or community capital or equity investment. But it may take more than that. It may take 3 different kinds of capital. You may need traditional bank debt for equipment. You may need alternative financing for some of the working capital components. You may need an equity component because you're growing rapidly and the banks are requiring that. So just, when we think about how to finance the growth of your business, whether it's startup, early stage, or growth stage, really understanding that there are different types of capital out there, and there are people at this table who can help you decipher what's the right match of capital for where you want to take that business. I think lastly, I will just mention that we do bring access to our network. So with that type of money that we offer, the revenue share financing, because it is higher risk, because we don't always have collateral and we're subordinate to a bank or even the community loan fund, we are going to make sure that you get the advisory capacity that you need. So I'll leave it at that, and then we'll open it up to questions. And I can talk a little bit more about how royalty functions, because it is different than traditional straight principal and interest loan that you might get from a bank or the community loan fund.
Thank you, Janet. Karin.
So I'm Karin Cross, and I'm the co-founder and one of the managing directors of Fresh Tracks Capital. And as others have alluded to, we're an equity investor. We don't lend money to businesses. We buy stock in your business, usually a minority position, and hold that for a period of time. We are in our 15th year of operation. We've invested in 30 companies, primarily in Vermont, although not exclusively in Vermont. And we have about $25 million of capital under management presently. About 40% of what we invest in are pure startup companies, so pre-revenue. We would call that seed stage in investing. About 60% of what we do presently is what I would classify as early stage. So those are companies with some revenue, in some cases perhaps $1 million or more in revenue. Although many of the companies we invest in, when we invested them, are not yet profitable, so they're not qualified for other types of debt financing, and we can fill that gap. We're looking really only for high growth opportunities, and the way we think about that is that a business would have to have the capacity to grow from where they are presently to $25 million or more in revenue in, let's say, a 5-year kind of time horizon. That's probably the way we would qualify that. We invest primarily in companies that are technology-based. We do some advanced manufacturing companies. We do some health and wellness-related opportunities, and some clean and alternative energy technology, and a bit of consumer products. Those are not the only areas we would look at, but those are the areas we have tended to invest in over the last 15 years. We tend to look primarily at the capabilities of the management team and how complete it is, and whether they have good domain expertise and they know the product area that they're operating in. We look for large market opportunities, so national or worldwide market opportunities that are high growth, and we look at some proprietary nature to the product that allows them to sell at some typically premium price point. I'd also like to point out a few other things we do besides actually investing capital. We tend to operate some events around the state or participate. So it's often you'll see one of my partners or I at an event like this. We also put on once a year what we call Peak Pitch, which is the elevator pitch on a chairlift. We do it at Sugarbush. We just did the event a few weeks ago in early March. It's a free event. We see usually 70 companies or so that are pitching, and 70 investors and advisors and so forth that ride up and listen to pitches. Great way to try out a new idea or to rehearse your pitch, because you get to take multiple runs during the course of the morning, so you get to give your pitch and get some feedback and go back down and do it again. Great networking event. And then also, with the cooperation of a number of people in this room, Steve and John and Charlie, I put on last year what we call Road Pitch, which is a motorcycle event touring around the state, stopping in various towns and listening to, by pre-arrangement, to companies come and pitch us. We're going to do that again this August in the first week in August. And I know John's going to run an event in this area, and Steve's going to run one up the road in Lowell. And that's another opportunity to get in front of folks and make a pitch. I also want to point out that increasingly there's a lot of business plan competitions in the state. So the two that are the largest and most well-established, one would be the Launch Vermont Business Plan Competition, run by the Lake Champlain Chamber of Commerce, but open to anybody statewide. That's in its 3rd year of operation. They award about $50,000 in cash prizes to the top 2 winners, and in-kind prizes that this year total, I think, about $80,000+. So a good opportunity for 2 companies to win. Unfortunately, the selection process is winnowed down now to the finalists, so there's 6 finalists that have been announced, and the final competition there will be in early May. There's also the Strolling of the Heifers business plan competition in the Brattleboro area, again open to people across the state. They have more categories and more winners, but award a similar amount of cash and in-kind prizes. And then you'll many times find associated with colleges or in smaller communities, some smaller business plan competition opportunities are springing up. I really encourage people to give that a shot because the preparation for submitting to a business plan competition gets you focused on pitching your idea and your business. And any coaching you receive and any opportunity to pitch in front of an audience is a wonderful learning experience. And then the other thing I'll mention is that not at the table today are a cadre of angel investors and other equity providers, and there's one organized angel investment group in the state called the North Country Angels. They have a website called North Country Angels with an S.com. They hold a once a month meeting in the Burlington area, and it's possible to get screened to present in front of that group. So that's all I've got. Thanks.
Can I just add to that list, because there's a new network in Vermont specifically for agricultural related enterprises called Slow Money Vermont. And the Slow Money Vermont group is holding their first entrepreneur showcase in White River Junction on May 7th. So for any folks in the room who are value-added agriculture or agricultural related businesses, it's still open to actually submit to participate as an entrepreneur in the showcase. If you email slowmoneyvt@gmail.com, you can ask for an application, or if you go to vtfarmtoplate.com and search on there, you'll find information about the event, and you can download the application. But great opportunity to mix with investors. The whole point of the Slow Money Vermont network is to bring Main Street and traditional investors together in the room with agricultural entrepreneurs who are seeking financing. So, thanks.
Phil?
I'm Bill Roberts. I'm with the Vermont Economic Development Authority, which is the lending arm for the state. And one of the things that just kind of struck me as everybody was talking here is that this is a very special state. I know just about everybody on this panel. Very often when we're on different calls, we'll make referrals to each other. And we use different programs for certain people, like we use the SBA's program for the 504 program. We also use USDA's pool of money to relend. And that's the thing about VITA. The bulk of our money is borrowed. It has to be repaid. So our credit standards is probably a little tighter than we would normally like if we had free money. But we have to get paid back so that we can repay the people that we borrowed from. So I guess the why and how and when to use VITA is an interesting question, because we can only do 40% as a subordinate lender of any particular project. And most projects look like a 50%, 40%, 10% split, with the bank lending 50%. They have a first on whatever assets is being financed. We come in behind them at 40%, and then there's a 10% equity piece. So that creates a little bit of a dance. First of all, we don't want to steal the bank's business, so we want to make sure that the bank is on board with the project, because loan officers get paid by volume. We don't want to be stealing their business. But what's interesting right now is banks are still pretty tight. Their guidelines are, I just went through a home mortgage and I couldn't believe the hoops I had to go through. I mean, it was unbelievable. So, why use VITA? Well, a lot of times banks can only do 75 or 80% LTVs on like real estate. We can go up to 90. So we'll fill that gap. Our terms are better. For our small business loan program, we can go up to $350,000 of that 40% piece, so that piece could be up to $350,000 at a 4% fixed rate. Our direct loan program, which you have to be in a certain criteria for that, a manufacturer, wholesaler, value-added type of company, the rate could be as low as 2%. So very often, people will call us directly, which is probably only maybe 10% of the time, because they're looking for that good rate. Most of the time, I'd probably say another 70% of that time, banks are bringing us in because there's something they need to have shored up on the credit, either collateral, or maybe they're not too keen about the industry and they want a little protection there. And then Those are probably the main reasons. And then how to use VITA, since it is a 40% split and we're a subordinate lender, how and when to use VITA. You're happy to just give us a call directly and we have a discussion up front, but usually what works best is sitting down first with the banker saying that I'd like to use VITA, and here's what we're thinking about the product, because they've got to be on board for that 50% piece to do it. And we need a bank identified as the lender for us to get involved. Now, I was just looking at this, and here we've got 9 programs listed here, and there's probably another 4 or 5 that are not even on here that we administer for other people. So I'd say that the 3 key programs that we have, and I'll mention one other one that's relatively new, is our direct loan program, which by state statute has certain limitations on who can be in it. Like I said, it's pretty much got to be a value-added type of company. That can go up to $1.5 million, our 40% piece, can go up to $1.5 million. And the attractive thing there is the interest rate. It could be as low as 2%. Our other program is a small business loan program. It has a 4% fixed rate. We go up to $350 on that. That's probably our most popular program, just because of size, and there's no restrictions on who can be in that program. It could be a retailer, anybody can fit into that program. And then we have the 504 program, which is the Darcy, SBA's program. We administer that for them. It's a debenture. Why use that as opposed to our direct loan program? Well, maybe you're in an industry that can't fit into our direct loan program, or maybe our small business loan program is just too small. That 40% piece on the SBA's portion can go up to $5 million. So, the question is, if you're having to figure out what program to use, maybe you could give us a call just to figure out which program may fit and what more. For instance, on the SBA's program, the rate right now, Darcy, for 20 years, is about 5%.
Yeah, I think so.
It's about 5% fixed for 20 years. So that's another thing that people are interested in right now, because rates at some point are probably heading up. One other program that was just started, just got off the ground, is our Vermont entrepreneurial program, and that is the only product that we have that is out there right now where we can finance up to 90% of the project cost. The theory on that is people who are doing software development, things of that nature, just cannot get bank financing. So for us to do 90% in that field, we're really probably not stepping on the bank's toes, because they're not doing it anyways. And the state really views that as a sector that really they would like to support and get that off the ground. So. And like I said, if anybody's got any questions, I've got my cards here, the programs are here, and we refer everybody. If we can't find a home somewhere, we usually find a home somewhere for a particular project. For instance, Community Capital of Vermont had a program that now they administer they took from us, which is Job Start, which is on the lower end. So we get a lot of those phone calls and we refer them over to Community Capital. So.
Thank you, Bill. Charlie.
Hi, I'm with the Vermont Small Business Development Center. Some of your faces are familiar that I've worked with you. And basically, we are funded by the SBA, thank you, Darcy, down there, and the state of Vermont. And we provide no fee, which is nice, confidential business consulting. And it's used to develop a business strategy that you're looking to do. We've changed a little bit in the years, so if you used this in the past, come back and we can talk and go from there, because we've developed a system of where we have a lot of specialists throughout the state. We are housed, like VMAC, at VTC. And what ends up happening is we now do a lot of co-counseling, which was not done a lot in the past with the organization. So we have, some of you have attended the HR seminar that John has run here. We have a person who's very much into not-for-profit. We have hospitality specialists. My specialty is craft beverage, so I have a good time. So I worked a lot throughout the state with, specifically at this time, beer and wine, beer, wine, and spirits, which is really growing rapidly. So we work from the business side. As I say, when I do the American Brewers Guild down in Middlebury, what I tell them is, I've never brewed an ounce. Karn has, but I've never brewed an ounce of beer, all right? But I know the business of beer, and that's kind of the key. So we work with clients in the development of a strategy. It could be an HR strategy. It could be a marketing strategy. It might be mobile marketing. How do I get involved with that? And again, as I said, we're working more as a team now as opposed to individuals. We have 8 people throughout the state. Most of us are housed at the RDCs, which are the Regional Development Corp. So I do with John, and I'm also in Central Vermont in Montpelier. So that's probably a way you can get in touch. We also have an educational piece. And I'll use the Lamoille Economic Development Corp. As the model because John and I co-sponsor 8 different seminars a year, workshops. A lot of the faces, again, are familiar that have attended that. So we kind of have that piece. We are self-help service. We do not do the plan for you. That's another life I had. So if you are looking for somebody to do the plan for you, which I don't think is the best thing to do, but we're not that person. But we can guide you through the process. You've heard a lot of people on the panel say they have a lot of money to give you. Okay, we're the conduit to it. We can help you, or at least give you the best opportunity to put your best foot forward to be considered for the money. We also have the perfect business model in that we guarantee you nothing. All right, so that's kind of who we are from that aspect. I am involved with Road Pitch with John and Karn, and we do go around the state listening to folks. A great event. I had somebody participate recently at the one at Sugarbush, which was and very, very small business, but came back with a wealth of information. All right, now. Again, was it right for them? No, but next year, I think it might be right for them. So, again, we work a lot with all the different lenders up here. We know the nuances of what they're trying to achieve, not achieve, and go from that perspective. And I'll be around the rest of the day to answer any questions.
Can I just give a plug? This is a great resource. I can't tell you how many times when our application comes in, how incomplete it is. But when you get a package from these guys, even though our application has listed under the things that we'd like to see, it's almost never there. And their format is so easy to follow. Their cash flow, their projections. It's just, I don't have to sort through somebody's spreadsheets and try to figure out where this number came from. And it definitely gives you a foot up using these guys.
Thank you.
I agree. Good morning, my name is Leah Fury. I'm a loan officer with Community Capital of Vermont. Hope everybody has a little room in their brain for some more information. We are a statewide nonprofit revolving loan fund with a mission to help Vermont's small businesses and lower income entrepreneurs prosper through the provision of flexible business financing. We do the micro loan end of things from $1,000 to $100,000, and we work a lot with borrowers who are unable to access capital due to limited access to collateral or credit issues. So we get a lot of referrals from folks here at the table when somebody is too high risk of a borrower. We like to think of ourselves as a lender of first opportunity for a lot of people with those challenges. So $1,000 to $100,000, our interest rates range from 7% to 9.5% based on risk. And this year, for example, we did a loan, $2,000 loan for a landscaper to borrow to buy some equipment. Has a truck and had his equipment stolen, so we were able to finance the equipment purchase. We'll do larger loans, $50,000, $70,000 for startup bakeries or restaurants. And we can do equipment, inventory, debt restructuring, a whole variety of things. We're often asked who is our typical or ideal borrower, and it ranges a lot from folks who really have never received a commercial loan before, people who have more experience and worked a lot with some of the business advisors and come in with a lot of experience. So we're a pretty small office, and we really value customer service. So we really like to work with borrowers as they're going through the application process and throughout the entire life of the loan. We're also able to offer technical assistance through that. And we really love hearing borrower stories. We love to hear entrepreneur stories. As startups, about 60% or more of our borrowers are startups, and hear your ideas as you're looking to grow your existing business as well.
And last but not least, Susan.
Everybody wait. It's amazing. I've been working in this area for over 15 years, but you come to something like this and it's just, you're blown away by the resources. So I can only imagine what it's like on that side of the room. So I work for the U.S. Department of Commerce International Trade Administration, and I run something called the Vermont Export Assistance Center. And basically my role is to help companies expand their products and services worldwide. So we're a great resource. We're a little bit unusual. We have a worldwide footprint. We have offices throughout the United States, but we also have staff that are located through the embassies and consulates worldwide. So through our staff and our resources, there's a great deal of information. And what I would say, if you take away nothing from what I'm about to say, is that if you have an interest in doing international, then let's have a separate conversation and meet. And a big part of what my job is to really try to filter the vast amount of federal resources into manageable amounts for you. Our main website is export.gov. It has all of our information on it, but it also has financial information from the Small Business Administration and from the XM program, which we're fortunate we have somebody who's at VITA, who is our Vermont XM representative. There's a great deal of information about technical assistance. So some of you may be at the standpoint where you're receiving an occasional international sale, maybe through your website, and so you're in a situation where you're responding to international sales in a very sporadic way. So there's information that can help you try to grow your processes to help you understand when you're filling out a form what that form means and what all the numbers mean. But then once you get beyond that, if you want to get more proactive, there's a lot of market research available that can help you understand international markets. There's a lot of regulatory information so that you understand any nuances in the overseas market. And then what we're known for best is if you're at a standpoint where you want to get proactive with your sales, we can introduce you into the overseas market either through trade shows, or we can set up individual appointments for you. It's just, there's really deep resources. So what I would say, if you want to have if you want to explore that a little bit further, let's talk about that. I just want to mention a couple of other things. The state wasn't able to have their representative here today, but they also have a program called the Vermont Global Trade Partnership. We work very cooperatively with them. They have a newsletter in which they, it's an e-newsletter in which they combine a lot of information that you could sign up for if you're interested in. They also receive a federal grant from the Small Business Administration. And in that, probably what's of interest to this group is that if you're doing any trade shows, it could be a U.S. trade show that has a lot of foreign buyers. They can underwrite that with a federal grant for you, so that's kind of key. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is if you want to get really serious about your international sales, there's a program that takes place. We're about to start our third program that's run by the Vermont Manufacturing Extension Center called Export Tech. Andrew Myers went through the process. I'll call you out, Andrew. But it's a very comprehensive program. It happens over a period of 3 months. There's one 8-hour session once a month. And at that program, we bring a host of all the resources to you. We bring private sector speakers, and it's very comprehensive. And by the time you're done, you really know what you want to do with your international when you're done. I thought Andrew summed it up best the first day that he sat through it. We broke at lunch, and Andrew said, you know, I've never spent 4 hours thinking about international trade. This has been unbelievable. So if nothing else, it gets you really focused on this one area. I think typically for most Vermont companies, you know, you're very small, you're thinking about regional sales, you're trying to break into the East Coast, maybe you're starting to think about West Coast sales, and international is something that just kind of happens every now and then. So if you're ready to explore that side of the business, there's great resources available for you.
You said Susan was last, she's not, because you're going to have to listen to me for a couple of minutes. The LEDC, just like the other 11 RDCs around the state, we basically are a one-stop portal for this sort of thing. If you have any questions, any concerns, anything you need help with, either contact me if you're in Lamoille or contact the RDC office in wherever you may come from. That's what we do best, is act as a one-stop shop. And I would encourage you to use the resources. It doesn't cost you. We do a couple of things that are somewhat unusual too, in that we offer to any business in Lamoille County marketing services up to and including website development. It's not going to cost you a dime. And that lady right there, Alyssa Clancy, is the one who does it. We are unique, as far as I'm aware, with any RDCs around the country, the state, in that we do offer the services. And Alyssa is terrific at what she does. So if you need website help, you need to have your website fixed, upgraded, you need marketing help in terms of writing a marketing plan, doing some implementation, give me a call. We'll get you set up. We also do some loans too. We own the Lamoille County Revolving Loan Fund, and we loan money to businesses within Lamoille. I'm also the administrator for the Morristown Development Fund, which has money available for businesses either in Morristown or that are thinking about moving into Morristown. So we do some other things much like what everyone here does. But what I like to do is take a 15-minute break, give you a chance to stretch your leg, get something to eat, use the restroom, and network with these people and among yourself, and we'll get going with the question and answer session in 15 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. I'm watching it. Took us.
It's roughly the same.
Okay, I caved in on the donut. I'm hungry. Those are good. Those are just the chocolate. Those are good. And you can go over and look. They all look pretty good, actually. Bright green, bright pink with the yellow duck. Oh, look at that.
All right. I'm sure that you all have questions, right? Now is your opportunity to address them to a formidable group. Sure, absolutely. What they
Yeah.
Great. Good idea. What do you do?
Mary Westervelt, we contest space
Which is what?
supporting school administrators in using STEM as exam data to better manage their schools.
I'm Max Neal. I'm the Executive Director of the Lamoille Region Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
My name is Steve Mason. My wife and I have a small consulting firm in the Northeast Kingdom called Next Consulting. We work with businesses to arrange partnerships with many of the people that do this.
My name is Brad Allen. I'm interested in starting national construction.
My name is Joe Kelly. I have a consulting business called Stone Doors Consulting, primarily helping organizations with organizational development, leadership training, and talent management.
I am Curtis Osler, Development Communications Director at Resource. We have stores in Burlington, Barry, Morrisville, but we also support our job skills training programs final stewardship.
I'm Teresa Carpenter. I have a degree business in Hyde Park.
You've used her several times. Christina, I think you're wonderful, fantastic.
My name's Adam Laurie. I work for Coolest Insurance here in Morrisville, or next door in Morrisville, Vermont. I serve on John's board, and we're doing his annual review right now, so that's why I'm here tonight.
No pressure.
He does a great job.
Andrew Meyer from Hardwick. I'm here with Michael Carr with Vermont Soy. Also, Vermont Coatings, two started up early stage growth companies in Hardwick. Also, where the Center for an Ag Economy had and the Vermont Food Venture had, representing the small business development growth that's happening in the Hardwick region. And things it is, so I agree with Susan, the amount of resources that are in only a couple of gas stations that are here today, so thanks, John. You continue to do an incredible job. Be on the other side of the Lamoille River.
I'll deal with your check.
I'm Sherry Litcher. I also serve on John's LEDC board, and I'm the assistant director of this course.
My name is Joe Pester-Ingram. I'm the director of the Smugglers Notch Homeowners Association. It's an organization of condominium homeowners. I'm on John's board. I'm not here to see what he's doing today, but I'm here to see Adam. But we're very proud of what LEDC does, and I like to show up to these events to learn more about what's happening and who's out there. I wish I needed money today. Yeah, thanks to all of you for coming and thanks.
Well, I'm one here that needs some of the money. I'm Andy Klasky, managing partner with the Hanover Organics in the Brattleboro area. We've brought some renewable energy development to some previous failed projects and are bringing some new capital to some solar projects. And working closely at this point with EMP trying to bring a pilot project, renewable energy reduction strategic thanks to the Brattleboro area.
I'm Greg Spear. I own Sunrise Mountain Guides and Turtle Timber is a small woodworking business in Stowe.
My name is Jeff Daniel, and I'm interested in developing an agricultural economics program for
Michael Carr, I'm a business manager at Vermont Soy in Hardwick. My sales have doubled in the last 8 months, but cash flow is still a challenge. Been doing it for 7 years, and I just need that support to get to the next level, get past $1 million in sales, and keep doing what I'm doing and be at 2+ years. So I'm looking for all the options of how do I get the business finance to get that level.
Michael's wife took the novice motorcycles class that I teach 5 years ago. Still hasn't got a motorcycle.
I got one for sale.
Good morning, I'm Susan Alexander, and I have a little company called the Vermont Switchel Company. And if you don't know what Switchel is, then lies my problem. I've not doubled my sales in the last 8 months, but I'd like to. So appreciate, John, your efforts here. Echo what a couple people here have said about what Lamoille County Economic Development does that I'm not really seeing on a whole lot in the rest of the state. So I live in Cabot and my business is in Hardwick. So thank you for putting this together and great stuff today. Going to talk to several of you.
My name is Yvonne Bob. I own a retail store in Montpelier called Global Gifts.
Hello, I'm Elisa Clancy. I'm the owner of 3W Promotions, which is an internet marketing and website development company. My largest client is LEDC, for which he spoke of the internet marketing and website development grants that we offer.
Okay. Questions for the panel?
I have a question that I don't know if it's answerable or not, but I just have to necessary that there's so much overlap? Does that lack efficiency, in your opinion?
I'll take a stab at that. No, because I think we need all kinds of capital across the continuum. And to be honest with you, I don't really see us in competition with each other. I think oftentimes we'll work together and be in the same deals and we play different roles. For example, the very first investment we made, we were in that particular financing package with 7 other funders that all needed to come to the table and work collaboratively to make it happen. So from my perspective, I think we need it all. I think we can do a better job of referring when it's appropriate, and that that's just a matter of getting to know each other personally. People change in different organizations, and so when a lender changes at a particular bank or at an organization, to me, it's my job to get to know them and understand who they are and what deals they're looking at and see where we fit. So I would say, I'm optimistic, I would say no, we need all kinds of capital. And it's to the benefit of the entrepreneurs. The challenge is for the entrepreneurs, for folks in the audience to understand, okay, where's my first stop? Where do I go? And so that's why we've got folks like Charlie Inninger and the business consultants in the room who can help you sift through, based on your own goals and values, where you might want to start with what type of capital to help you grow your business and what's appropriate for the type of project or expansion that you're doing.
I would echo that. Yeah, it does sound like there's a lot of overlap, but there's some very specific programs involved that have very specific expertise. Lauren and I were talking earlier, we had a lot of anaerobic digestion projects that we were a part of, that Yankee was a part of, that Vita was a part of. Everybody had a certain little piece of that. So when I say USDA was a part of that, it was our energy program that was involved in that. So we have a renewable energy piece of that was in there, not only with a grant for a significant portion, but also our guaranteed loan, which is where Yankee was involved. And then Vita's portion involved in that was their division called VAC, which is their agricultural corporation. So though it may sound like a lot of the same funding opportunities, there's different parts and pieces that fit a very significant niche. And that's where, though it is difficult sometimes to know where does that niche happen, that's where we can come on board and literally sit down all together, because everybody's friends, everybody gets along, and it's not a competition, and say, you know what, I really believe this is where Vita needs to come in, and we can bring them in and we can sit down and talk to them, and maybe this is where USDA works, and also SBA. Though SBA is another government agency and our guarantees all sound like they're sort of the same, they're not. And we sit down and we talk with SBA, we refer to SBA. Actually, we're in the same building. One's on the second floor, one's on the third floor. It's nothing for us to run up and down a set of stairs and say, I really think you need to talk with these guys. It's not a competition. It actually is a very well-oiled working machine that works well together. So it's something that we do well, and it's nice.
And in terms of the alternative lenders on the panel, we've got Community Capital, Vita, and Vermont Community Loan Fund here. And we work well together. We cobble deals together. If ECLF cannot do a deal because maybe it's the loan amount is too small, it just doesn't make sense for us, we might send it over to Community Capital. But there might be deals that we don't feel comfortable doing alone. We'll partner with Vita, and together we'll be able to do a deal. Some loans just aren't appropriate for us because of the loan amount, the sophistication of borrowers. We're a micro lender, we're small business. We do startups, as does Community Capital. It does startups as well, but they've got a different perspective. So it really depends on the deal. It depends on whether you were profitable last year. We have businesses coming to us that, they're very sophisticated, very polished. They come in and they understand financial statements, and they've had a line of credit for 10 years. Well, last year, they can't get that line of credit renewed this year because they were not profitable last year. We welcome them with open arms because they know business. They know they've proven themselves. They just have gone to the road to show the projections are going to recover. They understand the financial statements and they're good borrower to have in our portfolio. So we work very well together. We do talk together. We refer back and forth. We partner on deals. So there's not really overlap from the alternative lenders or even from traditional banks. We refer to traditional banks, and traditional banks refer to us.
from a consulting arm, being that we work with both new and existing, all right, we can help guide you to the folks on the panel, all right, but working with them almost on a daily basis, we know where you're going to fit in and where their wheelhouse is. And I think all of them have expressed it, and that is they all have their niche. And there are a lot of them out there. Everywhere from, I have more money than God, but I still want a loan, we know where to send you then, to, hey, I have no real cash equity, and at the same time, I have no collateral, which isn't a word that has come up yet, but there is no collateral. So then I go to my friends on this side. So what I'm saying is they all have that niche of who they can help within the economic environment.
Charlie, could you clarify the difference between your organization and SBA? Since you're both affiliated, who would I go to first?
That's a good question. Now, we're the consulting agency. They, as I explain it, and Darcy can correct me, but they are really the insurance part of the arm. And what happens is when we work with a client, we can say, hey, we think that you should really, when you go to the bank, ask them if they're going to go to SBA. And or if you've been to the bank and you've been turned down, you can say, was the loan presented to SBA to see if they would back it? So we can't go to SBA. It's the lending institution that has to go to SBA. And that can either be a bank, a micro lender, who's ever affiliated. So they're looking at the big picture. We're taking our clients to the lender, and then the lender is going there. Where we come in is a lot of times is if the bank or the lender comes back and says, hey, you know, we're not too keen, then we can turn around and say, did you take it to SBA? And if they say no, then we just tell Darcy. No. but that's kind of the way it functions.
Kind of like an umbrella, agency that funds the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, which is another counseling organization. And Iowa Business Center, and we'll get another one, the one that had it just recently decided to go in another direction. So that'll probably be starting next October that we have one of those. So it's giving options to people for assistance. They can go to all three of them, for any type of business counseling. What we probably focus more on the staff at SBA, kind of two sides of the loan programs where we train the lenders, the credit unions and the banks all day, every day. We take calls and emails. They've got a deal, as Bill Roberts will tell you. We have rules as taxpayer money at risk, so there's a lot of underwriting criteria that the banks have to follow, and that would be like on environmental, concerns. Like if you're trying to lend to a gas station, we do those loans, but we require, environmental assessment. So there'll be different things that they try to understand to make sure whatever they submit for approval for a guarantee is in compliance. And most of the banks have delegated authority. So if you go to Union Bank and they say, yeah, I think we're going to go SBA with that, it's almost transparent to you because they're delegated as a preferred lender to submit that. They make the credit decision, they close the loan, they service the loan. And only if it goes into default do they come back to us and ask us to purchase the guarantee. So they're really out of the front the whole time. But if you had an issue with that bank, if you thought they were not, operating in good faith or they had conflict of interest or anything like that, then you can come to us directly. That seldom happens. But you do have another third party in there if you think the bank is being, onerous or unreasonable or something like that. Then we would talk to the bank about that. But mostly we're trying to keep that faucet wide open for capital to get the businesses on every part of that continuum. In the session, there was a lot of retraction from large banks. We really got out of small business lending. So then SBA decided, this is where the overlapping comes in, to have a program called Community Advantage. And that's basically empowering mission-based lenders like Community Loan Fund and VITA and Northern Community Investment Corporation to actually act almost like they're a bank and do our 7A loan, where they would do the whole loan themselves and submit it to SBA for a guarantee. So we're trying wrong door is what we always say. And I would say SBA particularly, we would do a lot of lines of credit and a lot of refinancing. So if you have credit card debt that you've used in your business and you can document it, we can do a refinance and put a guarantee on it. That's attractive to a bank, where Vita might not be able to do as much refinancing. So we kind of things sort of fall out maybe more in that area. If that answers the question.
Yeah, I guess I'd do a follow-up question, which then I would ask, why would I go to Vermont Small Business Development or to John? Who would I go to first in those situations?
I'll address that. If you are totally at sea and you don't really know, you should go to your RDC first, because as I said, we're basically one-stop shopping. I have the contacts. I know all these people and others too. I may be able to help you directly. If not, I can certainly get you in contact with somebody who can, or have you meet with Charlie or his counterpart somewhere else to take that direction if that's what's needed. But I can't emphasize enough, the RDC in your respective area really is your first place to stop when you're looking for help.
And John, I'd just like to add, not only is it beneficial for him to come to you, but it's good for you to know of him, because
Absolutely.
he's a wealth of information, and he can also let his network providers, his resources, know that you're new in town and you've got a new business. So networking is so important with your providers, with the community.
One point I wanted to make too, which is really kind of a follow-up to Adam's question. I can't ever remember a business loan deal ever in the time I've been involved in this state that involved only one lender or even two lenders. It usually is a whole range of the specific lenders. I'm not talking at school because this was something that was a public event. Many of you have probably heard of Vermont Slope and Cure. When they moved from where they are now from Montpelier area, Barry, to where they are now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, I think there were at least 7 different.
That was the one I was talking about. There were
7
7
different
funders.
lenders involved in that. And it was a whole range of things. And that deal would not have worked without those 7 lenders. So it's a question of everybody's got their own speciality, their own piece of the pie that they can supply.
John, just so you know, in that deal, and it was a public venue, it not only had traditional bank debt, alternative debt, it had the flex fund, it had equity investment, it had landlord financing, it had community development block grant monies. So it was the culmination of a lot of different players and a lot of moving parts to make that happen. And Vita was in there as a strong partner with the bank.
And BCLF, and also there were IRP funds.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, there was,
Everybody was involved.
I'll take a little bit too. I mean, if a bank is doing your right job, there are people that will come into me and I'll say, no, you don't meet my criteria. But I'll send them to maybe Vermont Agricultural Credit, I'm an ag, or send you to FSA, or then start visiting with FSA and maybe we can partner. And I think if a bank is we don't want to turn people around, or I don't. I want to try to find a way to get you financed. If you've got a good business plan and you've got the ability, we want to try to work with you and try to find a way to get it. Even if I don't I might not end up with any of the money. That's okay. If you've got a good business plan and you want to get it done, some of these they take higher risk than, say, I do as a commercial bank, in commercial lending, but that doesn't mean you don't have a strong business plan and that you don't deserve to be in business. We've just got to find a way to get it funded, and that's finding that, and it sounds like this one group that you're talking about, you found a way to get it done. We're about finding ways to get it done, if we can, and that's working and finding, I don't know where the right person is to start, but if you start with one of us, it'll all start the thing in motion, and if the business plan is strong and things look good, it'll probably got a pretty good chance. Somewhere along the line.
There also are some specialty areas among the various people up here. And I'm thinking specifically VCLF. I think you still have an agritourism.
We have agritourism.
An agritourism specialty fund, which.
That's right.
And that's only like, how much interest?
It's 3 to 5% interest. It's $50,000, but it's got to be for something to bring people onto the farm, and that's courtesy of USDA development. You know, there's no shame in shopping out alone. When someone calls me and says, I need $50,000 for a piece of equipment, that we can help you with that. But you might also want to call community capital. You might also want to call Vita. You might want to also talk to a credit union. And also, if you have a banking relationship now, talk to your bank because they know you can get a better deal with them. And that's okay. We're not in competition with each other. Write it down. Okay, I want 50 grand. This is what my closing fees are going to be. This is what my direct costs are going to be. This is my origination fees, my documentation fees. Put it all out there, what the rates are going to be, what the terms are going to be. Actually make a grid and say, shop it out like we're shopping for anything else, like the equipment that you just purchased. Get the best deal in town. It may be better to go to community capital over VCLF. That's okay. There's plenty of deals out there for all of us. We're not fighting over deals.
And for everybody that possibly is in Orleans, Caledonia, or Essex County, who's somebody who actually is not here at the table is NCIC. So that's Northern Community Investment Corporation. They have an enormous amount of loan ability, and they also utilize our programs and everyone else's programs and are very big lenders. On a personal level, I just am excited to see how many people are here from Hardwick, because that's where I live and all the businesses in Hardwick, and that NCIC is a tool for you to use, and incredible lenders, and do a great job in those areas. Again, another economic development tool there, and they just do a wonderful job, no different than VITA, VCLF, Community Capital, LEDC. As John pointed out, there's 11 throughout the state of Vermont that operate. They know what they're doing. I do believe that they are your first stop. They know everybody. They know who to send you to. We do that. SBA does that. Everyone does that. I have had so many people call me. They want to start their business. They don't know what to do. And all of our specialists in business programs, community programs, housing programs are trained to help people, to refer people, to tell them, okay, we maybe don't have what you're looking for, but this is where you need to go. This is who you need to talk to. That's what we're trained to do. And you know, on a personal level, we all live in this state. The best thing that can ever happen in this state is that people are successful and keep it going. The last thing we want to do is say, I don't know, Google it. That's not what we're going to do. We're going to tell you, we're going to help you, we're going to further. Even if we have to say, you know, I'm not sure, let me call somebody and get back to you. That's what we're trained to do, and that's what we're going to do. And that's better for us, it's better for you, it's better for everybody. So that's why we're going to do that and put the time and the investment into helping people get through. We refer to SBDC all the time. Years ago, rural development used to have our own people in SBDC offices throughout the state. We don't quite do that anymore because we, kind of downsized in staff, so we didn't have that ability, but we think that it's a great organization and we still do that. We refer all the time. So economic development people are your friends. SBDC, all of these people at the table have resources that are just unbelievable, so utilize them all.
Question for Joanne. You help businesses obtain grants, contracts. Do you do anything with grants?
No,
Just on
that's a very good
contracts?
question. Actually, it's one of the requirements that come through the federal funding portion of our program. We will help you through registrations so that you may apply for grants, but we don't work directly with grants, it's strictly with contracts.
Fee or free?
Free.
One.
Free?
The most powerful word in these things is free. Just a little bit more I believe that the Northeast Kingdom is still a hub zone? All
Yes.
Northeast Kingdom?
Yes.
Not Caledonia.
Not Caledonia anymore?
Oh,
really?
what?
No, that's too bad. I was going to make the pitch for the hub zone. There's nobody here that's, I don't think, from Orleans. Well, you're from Orleans. But you already know what a hub zone is anyway.
So can I ask you a question? Mike, what kind of grants were you thinking about?
I'm looking for money. I will find grants that helps me. My salesman has his foot on the brake. Because my equipment is 10 years old. So I need funds for new equipment so I can actually use it. So I'm really looking for equipment.
Okay, so let's talk afterwards. There are sources beyond federal funding, federal grants. There are philanthropic organizations that provide grant funding oftentimes, depending on where they are in their cycle. So there may be other mechanisms. They're harder to find. Grant money is very difficult to find, but there are different mechanisms in Vermont that may be a resource.
Curtis from Resource. My question is for Jennifer. As far as the internships, we're a nonprofit and we rely on volunteers and internships and for free labor, but we recognize it's very important to give back and we provide this mentorship opportunity. My question is, I've heard of Sterling College, I have no idea where you are and what is your reach with the geographic range of internships for your students?
We're in the Northeast Kingdom. We're in Crestbury Common. And our students, their internships are, our internship program is that we kick them off campus and they have to go work full time for a 10-week period for a whole semester. So they go all over the world to do their internships.
Can I just follow up to that? So the students are earning college credit for that, and is that part of their work or tuition?
Yeah, yes, it is. So they do, it's a required core course that they get 6 credits for, and it is part of our work curriculum, so they also get a little bit of compensation through our work program. We structure the 400 hours saying percentage of it is this service, percentage of this is learning, a percentage of this is work. And then we just expect the employers to offer some kind of compensation as well, too.
So I've had sort of mixed results with interns. I've had a couple, and your metaphor works beautifully because I have the full seesaw effect, net plus experience, and I'm just getting to the plateau and losing my intern after losing the first part of it. So your program, these students are committed. They don't jump out halfway through on this.
Exactly, and that's one of the wonderful things about going with a college, so that you have that partnership. And so that's why when I call supervisors, they're like, oh yes, this is a structured program, it's a core required course, so that they know they have that person for that guaranteed for that 10 weeks. Yep. But it's definitely something that when you're setting up an internship, that's really important, is being very clear on the start and end dates and setting up those expectations and working through the progression of where somebody's going to be so they'll be invested to stay to the end.
Can I just follow up on that? I'm sorry, just, does it include summertime? Semester or?
Yeah, summertime is the most common time when they do and that's for most college students as well. Summertime is definitely the most common time for internships.
We get interns from various colleges through the fall and spring semesters.
Yep. Yep.
And then what disciplines, marketing, communications, business administration, what specifically, where is the strength of Sterling College?
Oh, Sterling College, our areas to study are sustainable agriculture, outdoor leadership, ecology, and environmental humanities. Yeah, and also just to reiterate that I love to talk about Sterling and have my students come work for you, but I realize too that I'm here as this grant that we got was for offering technical assistance to business. So it's not us providing interns for you. It's for us to assist organizations in setting up an internship curriculum and program.
And there are lots of internship programs around, not just in colleges.
Yep.
Who is it that does the Vermont internship? Is that
Yep.
Vermont Business Association?
Yep, exactly, yep.
The DSR has a big program.
Yep.
And it's quite successful.
I was just curious about, I haven't heard anything regarding community development block grants here. Is that not a state program here?
It's a big program here.
Okay, so is that funding, I mean, is no one on board here to address that type of funding?
I can talk about it a little bit. It is, in this state, it is administered through the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. The reason it's not here is that that money is typically something that is quote unquote granted to a municipality, who then turns around and either typically will loan that money to a business at attractive rates or whatever. Occasionally it's grants, but usually it's a loan program. But you as a business could not go to them and get that money directly. It has to go through an intermediary, usually the local town where your business is located. For example, when the Johnson Sterling Market went in Johnson a year and a half ago, I think it was, a very big piece of what they did put that market in there was a loan through the town of Johnson, the origin of which was a CDBG grant.
What are the labor laws regarding internships?
That's exactly one of the reasons that the technical assistance that this relationship is to offer. This is exactly why part of the grant was written, was to offer the technical assistance around the legality of the internship. It's a very, you heard the reaction immediately from here. It's a very hot topic right now, and so I'm not going to get into it now because literally it could be a whole 3-hour session. But there are a lot of things that you should know as far as the legalities, and when you're planning one, to make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
I think that bare minimum, just to be on the careful side of things, just make the assumption there's no such thing as an unpaid internship.
Right, exactly.
They don't exist.
And also, for all time, and the quick thing in that is that there's something in the Federal Labor Standards Act called the 6-prong test. And the 6-prong test says that you have to, and there's a handout over there that has those on that talks exactly about all of this that I brought. That you have to, in order to not pay somebody, they have to meet all these prongs. And there's one in there that's the sticking point that's very rare that it meets, is that it says that the intern is not going, the organization is not going to benefit from the intern being there. Pretty much the only way that's going to happen is if someone's literally job shadowing and standing you and breathing down the back of your neck.
If they so much as file a piece of paper and file a cabinet for you, you're getting the benefit.
Right, exactly.
And just very briefly, just as an aside for that, I'm on the Vermont Agriculture and Forestry Product Development Board. I'll say that quickly 3 times. And one of the members is Andy, not Andy, the other Keeler brother. And Mateo. He is on the board as well. Okay? And I think, excuse me, I'm sorry. He was telling us about this time last year that the Department of Labor came in and audited them. They had been using interns from Sterling, as a matter of fact, and unpaid, but they were getting an enormous amount of education through working in the cheesecakes. They came in and audited, the Department of Labor decided that this was not right, and it cost them $25,000 in fines and back payments that they had to make to the interns. They had to kill that program, and now, for the students who are getting the same kind of work experience, they're having to pay $10,000 to Sterling College to get the same kind of work experience. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's the fact. Excuse me, that's the fact.
Different department.
I want to mention something for Lamoille County. Do you have some of these like meetups and things, tech meetups? Because Karn might want to talk a little bit. He's really been on the ground floor of developing a lot of support for startups, often very young people, just kind of trying to get a business going. And we'll have 50 people show up. I know they have in Rutland and Montpelier and things, but
we did one about 3 years ago in Stowe with the people from UVM, the program there, and it was very, very, very cool. I think the problem is just not enough of a critical mass population here. The people who really do have an interest, that's easy enough to go to Burlington or to Montpelier or whatever to do that. But it doesn't mean I wouldn't try again if it gives me an opportunity.
yeah, I think that happened in Rutland. There wasn't that much the first time, and then they did have a second one, and it was a lot better. I don't know, Karn, do you want to talk about some stuff here?
Sure. I mean,
Words of wisdom on that end?
it's kind of catch as catch can, I think. And so, actually, Rutland technically was abysmal the first time, really great the second time, and mediocre the third time. So actually 3 times. And so you kind of never, you kind of really never know. But we cooperate with, you're talking about VSET, and we've cooperated with VSET to do some of those outside of Chittenden County, and we're always happy to give it a try. But it really depends on how much publicity. It depends on what else is conflicting, that night. You're right about a smaller population can be sometimes difficult to get the critical mass.
I have a couple of raise your hand questions. The Green Mountain Technology and Career Center has procured a lease on a Farm in Jeffersonville. And we are looking to do a program around food systems and diversify ag. And so we have resources for some of the larger things, the infrastructure and what that kind of thing. But we are looking for being able to get some equipment and some front loading of the teacher salary, that kind of thing. And so I need a show of hands of how many of you can deal with a public school and how many of you can also offer grants, because that's where I'm going.
Well, we have an equipment leasing program with, it's a relatively new program, so I don't know that much about it, but that might be something that you can take advantage of perhaps. But Lucilla, pick up a card and call the office and we'll get more information for you.
Yeah, and to start, I was thinking of you too because of the agritourism fund. But two of our biggest goals are to graduate students that are going to probably go on to school or into their own business that know how to run a farm in Black. And the other one is that it would eventually become a tourism showcase of Vermont farming. And so those are some things that we'll have to piece.
And the extension service will be part of that. And we also
we already have a lot of partners.
And the Housing and Community Facilities Program, what does do loans to nonprofits. So they also fund schools, community facilities.
So my organization doesn't directly do grants, but from a broader perspective, one of the group of players that's not at the table here that is very active in the agricultural and forestry market sectors in Vermont is the philanthropic funders. So a lot of the foundations, Vermont Community Foundation, Castania, Sandy River Charitable, who's in Maine but does a lot in New England, are the food systems is a very big component of their mission-based investing, both on the grant side and on the now direct investments in for-profit businesses. So I would say there may be some opportunities to look at what is the Vermont Community Foundation doing in that realm, and do they have grant opportunities. Castania, so approaching some of the philanthropic funders that are very active in Vermont's Farm to Plate initiative. The other organization is the Working Lands Enterprise Fund, which is once a year, and unfortunately things are not looking good right now in the legislature. But in any case, that's probably where I would start, and I'm assuming you're familiar with Vermont Farm to Plate. So those philanthropic organizations are looking for ways, both on the educational side as well as the business side.
So would this school be a for-profit or a non-profit?
This is a nonprofit. This is a public school.
Okay.
We have 5 sending schools from Caledonia and Vermont counties. In Orleans, actually, we have Craftsbury, Hazen, Peoples, Lamoille, and Stowe.
Okay. So under our community facilities programs, so not business programs, but community facilities, they actually work with schools. They provide both grants and loans, so I can give you some information on who to contact under that. And that would be an avenue for you to look into, and they can do all kinds of different opportunities under that program, and that would be a good avenue for you to pursue there. Okay, we do have some grants for agricultural producers. I can talk to you about different things. The problem with those grants is they cannot do equipment. So there's working capital can be provided for those, but not equipment.
Yeah.
Okay.
We found that around here. I think our advisory board's going to be tapped to come up with some things.
Okay.
Thanks.
I got that figured out, yeah.
Anything else?
I'm curious as to what the, what are the things that you wish, the various ways in which you wish that the folks that come to you, clients as it were, that they were better prepared with? What are the things that you're constantly asking them? What are those little helpful tidbits that we can spread out to folks who might be interested in certain loans and services?
Business plans.
I want financials.
Yeah.
I really need good financials. I need 3 years, personal, business, balance sheet, income statements, cash flow, pipeline. Really, that speaks our language. We need to know that you can service that. Equipment list, asset list, you know, list everything else.
I would say when you're doing those budgets and those sensitivities, what are you sensitive to? Markets, and where, you know, ideal in a lot of dairy farms just took a $7 hit on their milk price. What does that do to them?
Yeah.
What happens when my stuff doesn't sell for what I think it's going to sell for? And what's that going to be? Just some of that.
What about the entrepreneur that's just starting out and have all this?
He doesn't have, but you're still going to want a risk management plan. You know, if something bad happens, and it's even probably more important on that startup or entrepreneur because you got no place to go. So how are you managing that risk of, you know, a low price hitting or something not, you know, that machine that you just bought that doesn't work quite right, and how do I get out of that? What are my plans and how have I minimized that risk?
So another entity that we don't see here is Vermont Housing and Conservation Board, which is, Ella Chapin is the person that handles that. And we provided I wish we did change the name of this program. It's so difficult. It was called Rural Business Enterprise Grants. They're now called Rural, yes, which is what they received. It was so easy to say because we could say RBAG. Now it's called Rural Business Development Grant, and there's no way to say that easily. It's RBDG. And we provided a RBDG grant to Vermont Housing and Conservation Board to provide technical assistance to small businesses to do basically business planning, feasibility studies, all of those. And it really works really well to do exactly what he said. Somebody calls us up and says, I'm starting a new business, I want to create some sort of a widget or whatever. And the first thing I say to them is, do you have a market for this? Do you have a feasibility study? Do you have some sort of a plan? And I can't see them through the phone, but I know they're like, what? How would I do this? There's my referral to VHCB, sit down with Ella, sit down with her consultants, talk to them about what this involves. You need an economic plan, you need to know, can I sell this thing? Is there a market? Technical feasibility, all of that stuff, management feasibility, and that's what this Rural Business Development Grant provides. I cannot give that grant to you. Okay, this is what I was talking about. This gets granted out, and it gets provided to LEDC. Perfect. You need to call me. This gets granted out to LEDC, gets granted to VITA, gets granted to VCLF, Community Capital, all of these people, and then they, in turn, provide this technical assistance. Those are really, really good. NCIC has tons of them. That is one of the things that they can do, is they can do feasibility studies, they can do business planning, and they work directly with you, and it is a grant. That is a wonderful, wonderful grant opportunity for people. But that, in the case of a new business starting up, is fantastic, and that works really, really well. So that's one of the things that we struggle with. As soon as I say something to somebody about a business plan or a feasibility study, you can hear the silence on the other end of the phone, or you get the blank look, as what are you talking about? That's where SBDC comes in, and they help with the business planning and stuff also.
So over life, I used to do what Charlie does for the SBDC, for the Northeast Kingdom and the Lamoille County. And I used to teach their starting your own small business class, which is taught all over the state. There is one coming up on April 20th right here in Morrisville. They do have some frequency. One of the things I used to tell the class when I used to teach it is nobody ever decided to start their own business because they could hardly wait to sit down and write a business plan. But by God, you better have it if you want to maximize your possibility of success. Because without it, you're floating up there and never know.
And I guess that's kind of our wheelhouse. Right now, as an organization, we're probably working with 60% new businesses, 40% existing businesses. There's a very vibrant new business market out there, as attested by the fact I'm holding a craft brewing seminar, the business side of it, in Hardwick, and within about 7 days, we got 40 people signed up. We had to close it off for craft brewing, but the reality is that that's kind of what we do. So we ask those tough questions, you know, why, what's your market? We talk about, we do have templates we can use for business plans per se that a lot of these folks have seen. But as Bill mentioned, we do have a financial package that kind of that's the piece that we're probably more involved with you as opposed to the actual physical writing of the business plan. And that basically starts with how much money do you need, where is it going to come from, where are your revenue streams, what's your P&L look like, cash flow, and balance sheet. There's a sheet in there as well that does break even based on cash flow or sales. So that piece is there, and it's always the fact that, you know, we can talk about it. I can help you prep to answer the questions. It's your business. I own numerous businesses already in my lifetime. So this is your business, as I always say. But we ask the hard questions, and the reality is that we make you think about it. Why would somebody simply buy this product? You know, who's your competition? The last thing I want to hear is I have no competition. You know, because that's not real. So we kind of get that all out of the way to begin with, and then hopefully tell you what the lenders are looking for from a business package and go from there. And I like to use this story. The first meeting I had with a client, they brought this is the God's honest truth, it was in Montpelier. They brought their business plan into me to have a meeting, and I said, do you have a business plan? They said yes, and it was on a paper napkin. That was their business plan. Hard to believe. Also hard to believe we got them their money. So that's kind of what we're talking about. So because we knew where to go, how to do it, etc.
So I'm going to take the contrary view, and I'm going to do this as respectfully as I can, because I think that there's a difference between most of the people at the table and what I do. Most of them are lending money, and even the higher risk lenders have a lower risk tolerance anyway than I would, right? And so I'm a firm believer in lean startup principles, and also I teach entrepreneurship at UVM, and we use Eric Ries's book, The Lean Startup. We use a book that outlines, it's called the Business Model Generation. It's the Business Model Canvas. And so in that, what's important is a minimum viable product, and then to get through a build, measure, learn cycle. So building your minimum viable product, having a hypothesis of how your customer will interact with that minimum viable product, which you measure in the measurement cycle. And then you learn from that, which allows you to do a tweak to your minimum viable product. And in my world, the faster you can get through that cycle, the better. And business planning generally postpones all of that, if you think about it, because the idea is you will never, if you think about a business plan, as I say, the business plan will never survive the first customer in a startup. The first customer that interacts with your minimum viable product will point out many things in the business plan you haven't thought of yet, and you will measure those and you will learn from that and you'll go forth. So in my world, what I want to see is, do you have a concept or actual minimum viable product, and have you gotten through that cycle as many times as you can? So I won't, in my opinion, a startup should never write a business plan until they've gone through multiple cycles of build, measure, learn, and have had a minimum viable product. And I want to see them come in with a slide deck, a plan, a slide deck that basically informs me that they understand what an MVP is and what a build, measure, learn cycle is, and tell me what they've gone through. So that's a contrary opinion, but remember, I'm an equity investor, not a lender.
And just to add and back him up was the fact that in the old days, people would go into a bank, and then probably some of these folks have seen it with 35 pages. All right? And what we're doing now really is what was called the old executive summary. So if your business plan is 2 or 3 pages, 4 pages max, and addresses the key points, and again, with Carney's in a little bit different world. And if you have a widget or you're building something like minimum value product, it's how many times I've spoken to people in manufacturing that in reality are stuck because they're determining what the product needs rather than the customer determining. So I agree 100% there. But for a lot of different businesses, just a quick synopsis of who you are, what you want, why you think you're successful, financials, and then a lot of the folks here, that's kind of their mandate. And so we don't do that business plan that used to be about yay thick and all that. That's kind of, for most of them, a thing of the past, and if the lending institution needs more information, our adage is let them ask.
Yeah, I mean, and for us, we're kind of in the middle because we're higher risk debt. So we are debt, but we are higher risk. I mean, for us, we're looking first and foremost at the management team and their integrity and their ability to execute on what we then get to understand is hopefully a product or a service in a growing market. So Karen used the word learn, and that is probably the number one thing that I try to decipher when I'm looking at the management team. Do they have the ability to learn? Are they willing to learn? Do they listen? Do they have integrity? So that's often a harder component to get at, and you're not going to find that in a business plan. So whether I have a business plan, a slide deck, or a napkin, most of my work in determining whether to do an investment is going to be around the people, their ability to execute, and the assumptions behind their projections. We look ahead. We don't look at historically at the business, although we do ask for historical financials. I'm really more interested in where do you see this business going, and then defend that and give me some good data behind it. So for us, we're a little bit in between.
I think that's a great point. As doing consulting with a lot of companies that are not just a startup, but in $5, $10, $20 million, it's really important to surround the original entrepreneur who's really creative. I describe them as artists. They should be free to create. But generally, they're not necessarily good on the business side. They need to surround themselves with really good business leaders and free them up to do what they're really good at. And that's what I've seen generally as a shortcoming with a lot of these companies. They try to continue to do the business role, and they really need to step away from it, let someone else do that, and continue to do what they're really good at, which was original product development and looking towards the market.
Yeah, the tricky part is wearing all those hats as a startup and finding a balance of being able to create the widgets, to have the creativity, do the books, do the market, do everything. What I suggest when we have a startup call, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Your goals, as a startup, might be, to make $20,000 to be profitable. It might not be to make $1 million that year. So I think when I look at when someone calls, it's how coachable are they, especially as a startup? Are they receptive to information? Because if they come in and they know what they're doing, it's so hard. It's so hard to help them. But they need to be flexible and agreeable, and they need to understand. They don't have to take the advice, but they really need to think about their roadmap, their vision. And what I recommend, especially startups, if they're only looking for $5,000 for equipment, how about you just do the business plan checklist? And the business plan checklist on our application, it's on our website, we'll just ask questions like, who's your market? Who's your competitors? How much do you sell your product for? Where are you going to sell your product? So it's just asking really basic questions that you should have thought out as you're just putting it on paper. Then we can use that information to advocate for the loan when we go to committee, because we don't do anything in a vacuum. We need to know that you know what you're doing, and then we need to communicate that to our staff. So it's really, and it's a roadmap, like anything else. You might be starting on this direction, and then, whoa, demand, you need more equipment, you need more people. Well, that takes you 6 months later, you're in a very different place. So, but at least you've got some vision, and then you step back and say, okay, where do I want to be? I asked my borrower, one in particular, I said, well, he says, I want to make money. I said, well, how much money do you want to make? I want to make $100,000. Okay, if you want to make $100,000, let's work backwards. How many bids do you need to put out there? How many quotes, how many proposals do you need to be awarded? How much is that going to cost you to do those? And how much, is that revenue actually are you going to actualize? So then you say, well, geez, I don't want to work 70 hours a week in order to, it's like, all right, then you're not going to make $100,000. You have to get real about, these numbers. And is it realistic? Are you willing to sacrifice that much time away from your family, the soccer games, you know, away from, it puts an enormous amount of stress on a relationship to do this. And it's like, how much are you willing to lose? You know, how long are you going to do this? Is it going to be 2 years? You're going to give it a good 2 or 3 years, and you can lose up to $20,000 of your personal assets. Are you willing to pledge your home because you believe in this project so much? This is your chance. You know, so I think those are the reality checks. And also, is your friends and family supportive of what you're doing? Can you get an advance inheritance? You know, that's another way to get revenue, especially in this day and age. We're seeing that more. So to support your business. So those are all kind of get real questions that I ask my board, but I'd rather put those out front. And if they get upset about it, or if they get deflated, I guess I'd rather them do that now than when they're $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in debt and we have a mortgage on their home. I really want to make sure that you are going to make money at this business. Otherwise, why do it, right?
Question for Charlie, I guess, logistical. You said your specialty focus area is craft beverages in the state?
Correct. Craft beverage, hospitality, and leasing. Like the three.
So how compartmentalized is your department? I'll use the woodworking as an example. I'm a woodworker and sort of through the ranks of project management. We have another woodworker here. Woodworkers, not speaking for you specifically, but notoriously are great artists and no business people.
Okay.
Very, I'm amazed how often I've seen that. And
true, creative, but
right.
Yeah.
So what a woodworker coming to, I think your service is fantastic, especially for small startups. We, as part of resource, we have a waste not product shop, which is a wood shop.
Correct.
We're trying to make it so that it is self-sufficient and then provides income for the rest of our programs.
Where we start as an organization is you start with, John said, the RDC, and the RDC will more than likely turn you over. If you go to our website, www.vtsbdc.org, what ends up happening is a map, and you'll see who the business advisor is in that area.
So it's regional.
It is, we're in the 12, 11, or 12 RDCs. Some of us cover 2. I do Lamoille and Washington County as well. So the contact information is there. You get in touch, and then we pretty much know the specialty of folks within the organization. We don't cover every industry, but like I said, we have 2 with export, one in the Northeast Kingdom, one in Burlington. We have not-for-profits person, we have an HR person, myself with the 3 there. That what we do is sometimes we will meet, sometimes we'll do a meeting through Skype, thank God for technology. But we will co-counsel with the lead counsel. All right, so that's kind of, as an organization, how we're working more and more. And simply put, if you have something very unique to what you do versus a rather general business question, we'll just go out and try to find the person. Sometimes that person may not even be within our organization, but we will try to always help you achieve your end result. We figure out how to make it work rather than tell you why it won't work.
Anything else? Well, I'm going to wrap this up with one little plug myself. One of the things that came up here was entrepreneurs and lack of time and all the rest of it. Well, I've got a cure for you. We have a workshop, one of our 8 workshops a year, coming up next Wednesday on time management. It'll be right here, from 9 to 12. The woman who's the facilitator has done 3 different workshops for us. She is phenomenal. I highly recommend that you think about coming to that. One of the things that Charlie says all the time, and I used to say all the time too, is entrepreneurs need to learn how to work on their business and not in the business. And you can't do that if you're constantly saying, oh, I haven't got the time. Because you got to make the time somehow. So come to the seminar next Wednesday. Any last words from you people?
Just another little plug for that matchmaker. If you've never been to one, never attended one, we're holding workshops on how to prepare for one. Even if you can't make the May event, even though I strongly encourage anybody who's interested to attend, you can still attend one of the workshops. Their workshops are all free, and there's a flyer on the back table. I will be holding one here on the 16th of April.
Thank you very much. You don't have to be out of here until noon, so if you want to do some more networking, talking, you can also pick up this year, the back. This is a brochure I picked up last year. It's a pocket guide, all the services, not all, but a good number of services available from these people.
American Spiritual.